Greetings. I'm Terry Bruce, and this special remixed episode of our Quick Reads is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly live virtual Quick Read sessions. You can learn more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds on our website at strongwomenstrangeworlds.weebly.com.
Tiffany Morris is and I'm going to totally screw up this pronunciation. Tiffany SW Migma. How are we doing? Would you pronounce it for us?
Certainly. And you know what? I'm reclaiming the language myself, so I might not even get it perfect. It's Unusku.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unusku. Migma, writer from Nova Scotia. She is the author of the swampcore horror novella Green Fuse Burning and the Elgin-nominated horror poetry collection and Elegies of Rotting Stars. Her work has appeared in Nightmare, Uncanny, and Apex Magazine, among others. Tiffany, over to you.
Well, Ellen, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here tonight to hear some spooky poetry. I don't think there are any content warnings for what I'll be reading tonight. Just a general warning that it is horror, so it deals with some difficult subject matter. I'll start off with here, have some ghost stories. Have you ever seen a ghost? What about when you can't remember a word that you know you know? Or the times when you try to forget something and can't seem to forget it? In that space, there are ghosts. Have you ever killed anything? Look, everyone has killed something. Everyone has stepped on a bug, or killed bacteria, or bought something from some faraway, unpronounceable, or unnamed place. In that machinery, there are ghosts. Have you ever thought about the end of time? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. The term for the fireworks you see behind your closed eyes is phosphenes. The term for the precise darkness of closed eyes is Eigengrau. Another term for apparition is Eidolon. A forerunner is an omen of death, an odd occurrence or the image of a person appearing before they die. There are nights when the souls of those who are fated to die in the next year form a procession. The future dead walking, not alive or dead, or entirely alive and soon to be dead, somewhere in the periphery of time and ending. We do not know that the soul exists. In this space, there are ghosts. This one is called This Is Where There Is Nothing. 1. Remembrance. Somewhere else something is burning. Horizons gulp shrapnel, jagged like chipped teeth. Let the moment rot gray at the edges. Surrender your memories to coastline erosion. That's my cat. At some point, the future will abandon itself. Try not to dwell. It isn't safe here or there. Back away slowly. There is the sound of one wave clapping. Salt into nothing. The no wind breathes here. Somewhere in the sky, time is evaporating into hissing stars. Meteor, tremor, tsunami waves make lonely sand shadows. The women crying. Voices echo into nothing. No one left, leaving. Grief is a faded tiger lost from the empty city zoo. It stalks us through sun-drenched streets, buzzing with ghosts. 2. Wintering. Oil paper, the sky in spectacle, borne through come ahead of cyclones, pavement slick with salt melt. We're forgetting something. Stop here, there, a meadow. Narcissus papyricius, whispering an Ozark soliloquy, waist deep in witness. There, a field gone silent. Breath carries skyward, do not linger. There is a plague here of snow on blood on snow. 3. Afterward. Night tells us nothing, an abandoned city, Blank maps and concrete scrubbed in neon. Tall grass swaying on empty lawns. An alarm sound somewhere to no one. Streetlights on sky rubbed raw. Houses, callous on bone. Wooden stairs collapse and creak. This is where there is nothing. Exit, a humid exhale. Rain-black trees stretching the moment threadbare. Time is gnarled on a branch. Memory clings to vacant buildings as voices follow behind us. This one is called In the Distance. It previously appeared in Augur magazine. In the Distance. A woman is laughing to love songs on the radio. Her vintage gold Cadillac stalling where streetlights stretch thin. Pull over to the shoulder. Notice how her sigh tastes. There is smoke somewhere in a forgotten field. Behold her bruised-knuckled beauty. Bite your lip and prick your hand on rose petals. Rub your tongue over the coral ledge of a chipped tooth. It draws blood, or it doesn't. There is decay somewhere and salt on your hand. Grab at nothing. Grab at her gray laughter. She'll burst into 1,000 embers and vanish clear into the darkening cathedral of stars. This one is called In Death the House is Everywhere. I dream most often of houses and the dead. In my nightmares, I move from room to room to room, crawl through passageways, witness empty pews as I visit the wakes of the missing dead. There is green satin everywhere, strange bedsheet shrouds, shining artificial meadows. I am comforted and not afraid. Absent grief burns the air to smoke. These houses always smell like old wood, a sweet dust smell, time stuck inside rafters. Sometimes I crawl through them and come to a dead end. Sometimes the passage closes its jaws tight around me. Certain nights, I dream I am a mother. In sleep, birth symbolizes death. Meaning has a womb. A blank space scrawled over by a shaking hand. Dreaming is its call. In these houses, there are always attics and basements. There are never windows, so I cannot see my face. In dreams, the house is the mind. In life, the house is the body. In death, the house is everywhere. That one is based on some real nightmares I was having when I was going through it one year, so I decided to turn it into poetry, because why not? I have just 2 more poems. I might finish under time. This one is called Rewilding Under Those Conditions, and this is one of my climate rage poems. Stick this time, as in half-formed century, with a pin into the butterfly thorax, into embolism. There is not a word in every language for extinction event, but sometimes there are a few words for burning. Neamglagdijig, they appear burning. Nugbalagig, I set it on fire. Gahoktegel, they are burned through. A cathedral into skeleton, irritation into sensation, ozone into nothing. And it's not just forests, Nipgudul, that burn, that fall. And it's not just the prisoners whose hands hold this water they hold for no money, for nothing. There isn't much forest left here in our territory, but there are ashes, remnants, golf courses smoking in cinders, more beautiful than barbed wire on any cleared sky day by far. What is more beautiful than every golf course burning and rewilding with the things that grow under those conditions? Wildflowers, probably. Mushrooms and moss and all of it blooming like seizing. After the fire was gone, after hands held water, and mansions became lanterns, a snake was found, jaws open and hissing, having bitten the fire as it burned. I think that was based on some real news headlines. during one of the seasons of wildfires in California, and there were people still golfing and golf courses ablaze, and that picture of the snake was a real picture that I found online. So quite moving, and it moved me to write. So this last poem is called Crossroads. It appeared in Nightmare magazine, and it's based on real life folklore that I've heard based on the reserve that my family is from, Escazoni. I grew up off reserve, but still managed to hear some pretty stirring ghost stories. So Crossroads. The perfect Mundu, devil, is described as human, not human, a thought in the body, a giant human owl. Megweg, blood red, an abandoned house, the subject of applause. When he arrives, Gwiliu Megwegig, look for the red ones. Wajuet, Debnuset Nije, it is now a full moon. He does not melt like shape and form, metal eyes and horns, a tree branch. Bedasenmat, he comes walking with a lighter torch. When they see him walking on the road, many people are afraid to show their thoughts and be revealed. So that was all poetry from Elegies of Rotting Stars. That is available. I think it might still be on sale on Amazon. You can also get it through King's Co-op Bookstore. And for the giveaway, I have electronic advanced reading copies of Green Fuse Burning, which is coming out on Halloween. So thank you so much for listening, and thanks for being here. Walalin.
Angela Acosta is an assistant professor of Spanish at the University of South Carolina. Her Riesling and Pushcart Prize nominated writing has appeared in Apparition Lit, Radon Journal, and Space and Time. She is author of the bilingual speculative chapbook, A Belief in Cosmic Dailiness, from Red Ogre Review. Angela, it's yours.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to read some speculative poetry with Strong Women, Strange Worlds. This is from my collection of Belief in Cosmic Dailiness, published by Red Ogre Review. But I couldn't resist also including a poem that was published recently outside of the collection. So this is a collection of poems that tell stories, often in English and sometimes in Spanish or somewhere in between, of coming-of-age rituals, companionship, and work responsibilities that are not too different from 20th century human society on Earth. So this first poem is going to be from outside the collection, and it's titled Rewilding the Axolotl from Starline, the magazine of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association, Volume 47, Number 2. That's the April 2024 issue. So this is Rewilding the Axolotl. Some of the smallest survivors of the Mexica civilization live underwater, bobbing along Lake Xochimilco like before the conquest. Here their stories float with little bubbles, all-knowing smiles wise with generations of treacherous secrets. When the lakes become congested with processions, algae strewn like fallen papel picado and trash, the axolotls domesticated themselves, breathing air in unison for the first time. They complained about their living conditions, thus convincing humans to shelter these forever young amphibians tickled pink with their charm. Lab-grown rambunctious amphibians vied for a prime spot in the ISS student experiments, crawling aboard among plant seeds and cardboard cutout solar panels. These almost stowaways made it to the lunar gateway, then on to Mars, where they would dive and dine in waters melted from frozen rocks. The rewilded axolotls were known to climb out of the water to watch rocket launches, never desiring to go further than their one perfect pond on the Martian surface. So the next poems I'm going to read will be from the collection A Belief in Cosmic Dailiness, and this is the titular poem, A Belief in Cosmic Dailiness. To be young in an old cosmos leads you to every sort of adventure, floating idly through low-orbit habitats, racing through arcane atmospheres in full display of curious wildlife. Wherever you are, the most normal urges settle in after waking up from a long nap. a stim fix, like oil to stiff robot joints. They move we, the living, through the most mundane planetary rejuvenation efforts, the thrills of AI-enhanced mountaineering. Love hurts the same at 19 or 200. Precipitation harries the masses regardless of whether it's sulfuric acid rain or liquid iron, dripping on the vat-grown or the tentacled denizens of gas giants who sleep for centuries. Throughout the many vibrant realms of this fabled universe, our cultures may seem strange, our locomotion and sleep habits as diverse as planets, though a belief in cosmic dailiness persists. For where would we be without the ties that bind our orbits and futures together? The next piece I'm going to be reading is actually a prose poem, which I think was what really started this collection, and thinking about how I could create coziness around a campfire with some interesting characters. So this is For You, Fellow Galactic Denizen. For you, fellow galactic denizen, I find my followers, those with tails, puffed ears, or feathers, all imploring me to provide them with relatability and a cosmic sensibility. They sit around campfires roasting s'mores, or setting them on fire with flaming appendages, as I share sci-fi folk music in Spanish about multicultural civilizations and the dalliances of young adults parading around star systems like checker pieces. For you, fellow galactic denizen, I write what sits heavy in those human hearts, the fears that haunt our kin with the zest of optimism and the insights of our elders. Perhaps inner-ear translators struggle with shards of existentialism as my emerging voice cracks in its solemn duty of poetic adolescence. You listen patiently for the heart and hearth each tiny, marbled world creates until skies darken, gravity adjusts, and you're wearing your coziest pajamas, content to bask in the messiness of existing as a sentient being in this fabled universe. I now have a short poem titled Idle Dreams. Idle dreams. Dreaming of a sky ripped by satellites, they revel in receiving binary sunbeams, teetering between the possible and the artificial. Soon they would arrive to see with human eyes what their ancestors once rendered on computers or depicted in two-dimensional schematics, their daydreams becoming the idle serenities of contented boredom for those made of stardust. And I actually translated that one into Spanish, so if you want to see the Spanish version, you'll have to check out the collection. This next poem is also a prose poem titled Spaceport Ethnography. Spaceport Ethnography. It was the gentle whirring of the terminal, the rush of flurried rockets coupling to docking bays that lulled me into a restful sleep. Warm-blooded spacefaring peoples keep the temperature comfortable, perfect for an hour in a nap pod to wash down this layover with natural sleep before chemicals drown out the 50-light-year voyage. I stir as the vacation sim ads emblazoning the walls chime obnoxious tunes for weary travelers, and frequent flyers shuffle towards their destinations. In training, they said that this would become mundane. I would, in time, become accustomed to nanobots, intravenous impulses, and the toys of the 25th century. What they should have told me before hopping across 3 centuries was that boredom is universal after enough sleepless nights. I've seen enough teary goodbyes for 2 lifetimes and heard enough groans when shuttles are delayed. Before boarding, I see Agent Lambda still as bleary-eyed as before, and I know it has hit him too. Maybe next stop we'll catch the latest holovid and settle into the time for a change. Until then, I write these notes for those of our ancestors still scared of losing their humanity to spaceflight, not realizing that they are the ones weaving a web between our faster-than-light lives, a true gift sent upstream. And I'll end with a short poem titled Millennium Credo. Millennium Credo. If you could give more life, a year or so, to a deserving mortal, would you choose the Millennium Credo? Would you follow human duty, filial piety, galactic sovereignty, or would you be ravaged by guilt? Did you ever think a single moral coin toss would cascade further than your own conscience when you play with such tender lives? It is more than a single choice to administer this credo with a robot. A plethora of parallel universes will respond in turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Gabby Gilliam is a writer, an aspiring teacher, and a mom. She lives in the DC metro area with her husband and son. She is a founding member of Scratch, short form collective. Her poetry has appeared in both online and print journals, and her fiction has appeared online and in multiple anthologies. It's yours, Gabby.
Thank you. And now for something completely different. So I am going to be reading some speculative poetry. I had a new chapbook come out on Saturday. And so if you enter my giveaway, I will be giving away copies of that chapbook. But I am going to start by reading some poems from the anthology Eldritch and Ether. It was put out by Black Hair Press. And it's a fantastic anthology. And it has some really great poetry by a lot of different authors. The first poem that I am going to read is called "The Seafloor is Littered with Biogenic Sand." It is beauty that will pull you under, shimmering beneath the surface if you look hard enough at the dancing shadows. It is longing that will lead you to the edge, to lean until gravity pulls you, suspends you between ship and brine before surrendering you to the sea. It is panic that will clutch your flailing limbs as you try to tear away from the ruby lips spread wide over razor-sharp teeth, not the sweet smile you spotted from the safety of the boat. Teeth that slice flesh from bone like hot knives through butter, a trail of liquid rubies left in your wake as too late you decide to flee. The second poem I'm going to read is A Golden Shovel. For those of you who don't know, A Golden Shovel is a poem where the last syllable or word of the poetry line is from either the title or a line from another poem. And so this is A Girl's Gotta Eat, and it's after Wilfred Owen. Painted lips drip lies sweet as saccharin, whip the winds of temptation into a squall. Practiced tongue strips away autonomy until he is lulled, until he dreams of exhilaration, the divine tension before blissful release, the languid calm after a stormy sea. As he sleeps, his body remains helpless. The hungry predator relishes the sight. Stillness eases the collection of her tithe. A hungry tongue probes and plunges, practiced at bypassing muscle and fat. She siphons his energy, the epitome of darkness, as it consumes a guttering candle. She devours without choking, leaves him soused in desire, drowning. And the last poem I'm going to read from this anthology is called Unnecessary Culling. Who rushed shamelessly into my sacred grove, the timber that reared me, sheltered me when my bones were still malleable? Who felled the patriarch, the oldest sentinel, poisoned his trunk from the inside out to save the edges of their blades? Like Demeter, my goddess form seeks vengeance, a target for my vindictive curses, an Eryxion I can set upon his own flesh. Right, I am going to read a poem from a different Black Hair Press anthology. So this one was a charity anthology, and it's scary stories and poems written for children. And so it's a little bit less spooky than the others, but still spooky. It's called Don't Linger on the Shore. On the common down in Wimbledon, where windmill scratches sky, You might find the unexpected out of the corner of your eye. She creeps beneath the duckweed, stalking her young prey, those foolish, unwary children perched at the water's edge to play. Her skin as green as the algae that grow between her sharpened teeth. She'll snatch them from the soggy reeds and drag them down into the deep, where mother's cries will never find them, where the sunlight cannot reach, where there is only the dark and the iron grasp of the bog hag Jenny Greenteeth. All right. The next one I am going to read was in an anthology of poems about Medusa, and it is called Medusa Rises. Storm-tossed and ravaged by an impassioned sea, her virtue as tarnished as the desecrated temple. Her goddess transforms sin to serpents, lets her shed carnal curves for armored muscle, her flesh no longer weak. She constricts, choking decorum, her thirst for vengeance too venomous, her fury too exquisite, so those who look upon her are frozen in their reverie. I am going to read one more, and this was from a collection where they encouraged you to create your own myths. And so I created a myth about why the days grow short and the nights grow long. And this poem is called Why the Nights Grow Long. Moon loves sun, warm yellow light on windswept peaks. She keeps her face turned to him, her back drenched in her own shadow, exposed to the vast universe. She pursued him slowly at first, kept a coy distance as she circled the earth, marveled at the halo of sun's aura as she spun. She never gained on him. The earth became a wedge between them. Moon hurried her revolutions, funneled determination into torque, but sun grew no closer. She paused, reassessed, caught her breath, while hanging low and bright in Earth's sky. She renewed her efforts, pursuing sun with vigor, each Earth's nights growing shorter and shorter until she had to stop again. She slunk after sun, Earth's nights growing longer and longer, until she was so filled with wanting that she rushed to him, darkness glancing over Earth as she closed the distance between them. But sun remained out of her reach, distant and indifferent. He distributes his incandescence equitably, revolves relentlessly. Moon trails after him, chasing his torrid heat. She still reflects his light. Thank you so much. And if you liked that, please check out my new chapbook. It's called No Ocean Spit Me Out. It is not speculative poetry, but I hope you still like it.
Akua Lezli Hope is a creator and wisdom seeker who uses sound, words, fiber, glass, metal, and wire to create poems, patterns, stories, music, sculpture, adornments, and peace. A third-generation New Yorker, her honors include the Elgin, NEA, 2 NYFAs, a SFPA award, and Riesling and Pushcart Prize nominations. Akua, take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I want to say that I'm speaking to you from the ancestral lands of the Onondaga, also known as the Seneca, keepers of the Western Door in the area currently called the Southern Finger Lakes region of New York State. Thank you for having me. I'm going to begin with dragon. I fell in love with dragons as a teenager. By the way, I'm reading poems, and there'll be 3. Okay, so I fell in love with dragons as a teenager when I read Dragon Riders of Pern when it first came out. I'm a very old person. And this poem appears in Otherwares, which just won the SFPA's Elgin Award, and I'm very happy about that. Dragon. Those portraits of us as winged alligators are unseemly. I don't chomp raw meat. I'm flexible, articulate, prescient. My iridescent armor is fish scale soft. Should you touch me, I will shimmer my plates. My eyes are large and slanted, my nose equine and feline with flared, delicate nostrils, Roman arches that relish blooms of peonies as well as milkweed, savor the intoxication of apple blossom and fruiting spires of catalpa. My fire, not unlike your own, who can breathe hot or blow cold, which we do to tease lace filigrees from ice, moisture sculptures to adorn winter before we fly south. Unless heartbound by love for some cause we think just, or enamored by a soft flesh child we cannot touch, only covet or guard. When your oldest friends are trees and you carry seeds of a coupling made before the river turned east, you cherish any connection. After you've buried your bolder eggs apart, having inscribed each with runes of hope and instruction, yes, we're born large and literate, they're left in quiescent peril to awaken when and where the earth heaves again and bleeds her molten recreation. Dragon. My next poem began with the notion that certain whales live for hundreds of years, and they'd found whales with marks of our primitive weapons on them, with harpoon marks, with scars. This is called mysticeti, which is the baleen whales, the whales without teeth. And it was inspired by the call for ghost poems. So it's also a ghost poem. Mysticeti. When Inuits pray to the whale, their prayer boat captain lifts his arms, sings aloud that all be kept from harm, that this vessel of life will surrender, relinquish its one self for their many, and that all whale is and carries transforms to fuel their community. Below the blue sublittoral zone, after brine stung their eyes, burnt their skin, filled their noses and mouths, try as they might to float, spread starved limbs on indifferent waves, dreamt of reaching far home shores of palm wine, mask dance, foo-foo. Some embraced the inevitable. Others fought with the same outcome. These incarcerated, these enslaved, these forsaken, keel-hauled, shackled, and bound to an alien ledger for insurance, jettisoned into the sea. The whale met the many and recognized their purity of anguish, their longing to rise up and know land again, to see sky and light above the waves that buried them, to breathe free. They reached out to her, exchanged knowledge of a shared cruelty by the same slayers who used without gratitude, killed without hunger, who stole and discarded life for profit. Whale was 100 when she swam by these waiting souls who attached to her like the barnacles she wore, swirling around her until each found the right spot, cemented their remnants of being to her vastness, armored her, informed her. Some entered whale song. Some became sirens after a century of ocean crossing. Others protected her, warning her away from murderous ships, harpoons, and ports that rendered her kin lamp oil and beauty cream for abandoned wives. The breath of death preserved her life. My last poem is as Yemaya. Yemaya is a Yoruba Orisha who came to the New World, patron saint in the New World of oceans and rivers, and she's depicted as a queenly mermaid. I have a number of mermaid poems. There's another one, I think. Yes, there is in Otherwheres, there's another. I resonate with mermaids. As Yemaya. When I was paralyzed, my two legs felt as one, sparking something that began below my waist. Disconnected from my will, they floated on their own in a sea of perception, embraced everywhere, sensate and sinuous. I swam up from brokenness into dream, darting in 3 dimensions, as unafraid of up as down, as skillful with left as right. My great lungs fill with air, my long arms strengthen with each sure stroke as I plunge toward my sister, pink and black, leather black, who does not blink as we match motions and dance. And all around me, light from water-crossing foremothers who did not fly, but swam and sang across hidden valleys and buried mountains as humpbacks do, all around the globe at once, and a chorus of continuance, history sharing like right whales who survived their Holocaust, carry memory for hundreds of years, outlived generations of miscreants and murderers, unforgotten wounds now mere tattoos, and testament to what endures. And they told me, though land forsakes, consigns me to the chair, wheels me in the corner, beyond the edge, water buoys and welcomes her wide board. Crinoline flippers gleam in dusk, sparkle at dawn, flare at midday, beckon remembrance as she sirens return. As Yemaya. Thank you for listening.
Brianna Matloke is the co-chair of the Seattle chapter of the Horror Writers Association. In addition to dozens of publications, Matloke has 2 horror poetry collections, Fashion Trends, Deadly Ends, and Lest Cherry. In 2023, she was a writer in residence at the Chateau d'Ordureau in France. Brianna, it's yours.
Hi, everybody. So I'm reading from Lost Cherry, and it's divided into different sections. It's a horror poetry collection, and they're all the sections are based on different creatures. So the one section I'm going to read from tonight is the demon section. So the first poem is titled Becoming. You have me in a chokehold, lungs full of sulfur and smoke, muscles strain against your grasp. The shadows like ink seeping into my flesh, mixing in my veins. The darkness a poison straight to the heart, with eyes as black as the abyss and teeth as sharp as knives. My demon holds me tight, suffocating as the change occurs. This is Pour Yourself. Break me into a million pieces and pour yourself in. All of the cracks and crevices, not gold, not honey, nothing so holy. I want the darkness that oozes, your touch cold. Put me back together, and even if you leave, you'll forever be a piece of me. The salt stinging my wounds, the scars on my essence. This is Carmen Pigment. She bathes in blood and moonlight, a mind full of demons, and a heart as black as obsidian. Her smile sharp, nails long, and always painted match her favorite shade of lipstick. Ravenous, forbidden, she loves with a hunger unmatched. She'll devour you whole. This is titled Divinity on Your Lip. I fear myself, the version of who I'll be after you. After loving you, worshiping, where shall we begin? I've tasted the divinity that graces your lip. I've knelt at your altar, a messenger of catastrophe, of madness and destruction. You'll never settle for one soul to keep forever. Your kiss a death sentence I'm all too eager to receive. Where do we end? This is titled In Love with Decay. Entangled in my soul, you destroy everything you touch, the fire of my life. Divine violence wrapped in a body of a goddess, your frame draped in blood and silk. Delicate mannerisms as madness sparkles behind your onyx eyes, at midnight always get lost in. Wilted and decayed flowers are your keepsakes, and memories of deaths that tasted too sweet. Satanic, cast from the flames of hell, your laughter drips like honey over their screams, suffocating them, your smile wicked. Poison for the soul, yet I've never wanted anything more than time with you. Your touch corrupt, my soul blurred, for we are intertwined now. Love pumping instead of blood, I live for you, my hell. This is called Ripe Pomegranates. Blood on her hands and dripping from her mouth, as if she messily ate ripe, juicy pomegranates. She licks her lips, slowly, seductively. The bodies strewn about, meaningless home decor, her soul darker than any night sky my eyes have witnessed in this lifetime. No room in hell for this violent being. No name. She is ruination, carnage unmatched. To love her is to die by her hand. This is titled Until Death. The demon that's under the vixen, your poison that's addictive, no immunity, just death's sweet release awaits me. Pleasure and pain woven together until the lines are blurred and merged. My demon, my love, you haunt my nightmares and bleed into my daydreams. Venom on your skin and evil through and through, I can't scrub you from my soul. A deal is a deal, never broken, and I'll love you until my last dying breath. They'll have to pry me from you. And then this is my last poem that I'm going to read. It's called Vertebrae Metronome. Spiders in her hair, venom on her tongue, flies swarm about, attracted to her scent of decay. Blood-stained hands and eyes as black as ink, tinted phthalo green skin. Beautiful, vulgar, and violent. She eats hearts like apples and wears bones as jewelry, the soft clinking of vertebrae, a metronome of sorts. who dances to music no one else can hear, laughing wickedly with each and every hill. And so this is just a taste of the demon section. It's not all of the poems from it. If you want to read more, I will be giving away one free digital copy of Lost Cherry.
Jessica Levai loves stories. She has a PhD in Egyptology, and after 8 years of the adjunct shuffle, she devoted herself to writing full-time. Her first novella is a vampire opera and Pushkin sonnets. She dreams of one day collaborating on a graphic novel and meeting Stephen Colbert. Take it away, Jessica.
All right, can people hear me?
You're good.
All right. Then I am going to read from said novella, The Night Library of Sternendach, and this is the story about Cunegonde. And in the section I am reading, Cunegonde or Kinga, who is the last scion of a family of vampire hunters, she's 19 years old in this section, but 12 years before, when she was 7, she met the Graf, which is a German title for count, for the first time, and he gave her a book of fairy tales. And she hasn't really thought about him that much, but we see her on her own for the first time, and, well, things happen, so here we go. It's Friday, and the day is dying. The summer, too, though not quite yet. The city's lamps and headlights vying to light the way once sun has set. Downtown, the city stirs, awaking to second life, the people taking in food and friends in small cafes, then off to shopping, concerts, plays. Through all this, Cunegonde wanders. She soon starts university, but for a span of time, she's free to take the air. At times, she ponders the castle perched above the sprawl that casts its shadow over it all. Tonight, the castle and its master should not be further from her mind. With Oma out of town at last, her unending lessons are consigned to later thought. She has collected her auburn hair in unaffected and charming plaits. To match their sheen, a knee-length dress in emerald green. She seeks a bistro's outdoor table where she can watch the crowds go by and, while she's at it, maybe try a sample of the local label. Once served, she to her seat adjourns and smiles at boys whose heads she turns. The Riesling and the boys admiring are satisfying, passively. She'd hoped for something more inspiring, if not quite sure what that might be when setting out on this excursion. She itches for a new diversion. There is, if she remembers right, an opera being sung tonight. And opera houses, she is certain, attract more worldly clientele, well-dressed and more grown up as well. She must arrive before the curtain. Abandoning her glass and chair, she hurries to the central square. And as her footsteps bring her near and electric lights give way to gas, from concrete cobblestones appear and a fountain bubbles. Here they pass. The tourists and the opera's patrons, substantial men and wealthy matrons. Their flashy clothes and jewelry seem contrary to the antique gleam of gaslight. Rising up behind them, the opera, with its open doors, admits the crowd and in it pours. So elegant does Kinga find them, she stares a bit more than she ought, but doubts that this is what she sought. At least the house itself impresses. Stone angels, gods, and horses fly, while grotesques haunt its arched recesses. The last of sunlight leaves the sky. The final opera-goers hasten within the theater. From her place in the square, she sees the lobby's light before the doors are shut up tight. Then all is still. In what direction should Cunegonde this time head? It's really much too soon for bed. She stands some minutes in reflection, distracted then by something new, a black car purring into view. She knows this car, and all unbidden her Oma's voice sounds in her ear, "You're out alone. Now get you hidden before those creatures find you here." She doesn't move. Why ever would she? 12 years it's been. The likelihood she might chance upon them here tonight is far too small. She'll stay all right. First out is Timmick, who emerges as plain of face as she recalls from meetings in the castle's halls. Next, Timmick, from the back seat, urges a stately vampire lady, gowned in amber silk, her blonde hair wound about her head. This is Amata, whom Cunegonde has never met, nor to this moment had she got a good look at her in person yet. She'd recognize her from descriptions in Oma's records. Such inscriptions tell little of her private life. In public, she's the Lord Graf's wife. Most any human she'd enamor, this lovely figure draped in gold. To Cunegonde, it's a cold, unearthly thing, this vampire glamour. Her training has made her immune, she thinks, of course, a bit too soon. For when the Graf appears, it shakes her. If childishly her heart had warmed to him an age ago, it makes her blush hot to find her grown self charmed. As he glides toward his destination, she watches, wrapped in fascination, and lets escape a tiny sigh. He stops and turns and meets her eye. No sound, no movement but the beating within her breast between them now. He offers her a graceful bow. She awkwardly returns his greeting, which draws from him a kindly smile. They watch each other for a while. But then they hear the opera starting, faint music through the entry swells. The Graf smells once again in parting and nods to Cunegonde. Farewell. His Graffin's pleasure now attending, he takes her arm in his. Ascending the opera stairs, they open wide a door and disappear inside. No moon tonight. The stars come slowly to dot the sky. Their panoply stirs echoes in her memory. The images of something wholly important she forgot somehow. She must go home and find it. Now.